Well, hello there guys. Welcome to Redfish Bluefish. This is the channel where we examine art, nature, science, and snow, apparently this time, through the lens of the aquarist. You guys can tell that from the video behind me, the scene behind me I should say, it is really coming down here on Mutiny Bay, South Whidbey Island. So we decided we were pretty well snowed in this morning. As soon as I woke up, about 5 a.m. in fact, 4:30 a.m., something like that. Took a look outside and no way, there's no way anyone's going anywhere this morning. So luckily I had the requisite equipment on hand, and we are broadcasting from Casa del Redfish Bluefish. So it's a little bit different. It looks like we have 27 people in here and 15 likes. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you coming by on fairly short notice to join us in our new time slot. So we're broadcasting from here on out, Saturday morning, this time. It's going to work out a lot better for me, certainly for a lot of international viewers, international subscribers that we had. I'm definitely a lot more focused. The problem is that the old time slot, that's Friday night. That's right at the end of the grind, you know, the week-long grind, and it was just killing me. So, without any further delay, we've already had a bit of a snow change. We're going to jump in and do our top 10 early birds. Now, for the new people who are new subscribers, maybe this is the first time you're catching this live, maybe it's even the first time you're catching it after the fact. That's totally cool. Here we like to do the top 10 early birds shout out. That is basically a short list of the 10 people, the first 10 people, by my reckoning, who were in the live chat for this stream long before we even began. So this time, first place goes to Mr. Jeffrey Watts. Congratulations, Jeff. I really appreciate you coming by, being such an ardent supporter of the channel. It means a lot to me. Second place goes to IHSP's Tank Tribe. That is I Hate Stupid People's Tank Tribe. Thank you so much, and congratulations on clinching second place. Third place now goes to a stalwart member of the fish fam, certainly of the Redfish Bluefish Army, Sean OOTD. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you coming by and clinching third. Fourth place goes to Pew Fish Zone. Pew Fish Zone, congratulations. Thank you so much. Fifth goes to a very good friend of the channel, EJ Fishes 76. Thank you so much, EJ. Sixth place is going to go to Geek Boy this time. Congratulations, Geek Boy. You speak to the Geek Boy in all of us by being here and supporting the channel. Seventh place goes to Patrick Dragon Lair. Thank you so much, Dragon Lair. Really appreciate it. Eighth place is going to go to Yeehaw, Catfish Terry. Catfish Terry, thank you so much for coming by, my friend. Ninth place, Skipper's Aquariums. Skip, thank you, Skip. And 10th place, Miss Gina French. Guys, if you didn't make the top 10 early bird, please do not fret and do not be ashamed. Whenever we change times, live streams, basically, I was supposed to live stream last night. I'm not live streaming Friday nights anymore. I'm done with that time. It just doesn't work for me anymore. But when you fail to live stream and you change it like a day or two later, often YouTube will give you kind of a sort of a penalty. They won't send out notifications like they were. They kind of spank you a little bit, but that's fine. We'll get through it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. It is really cold here. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a view of what's going on here on Mutiny Bay. This is pretty serious snowfall that we have going on here. Let me show you what is normally a beautiful view of the Olympic Peninsula. Today is quite different. There is absolutely no chance that you're going to see anything across that water there. No way. It's not going to happen. You see my wife's normally quite lovely garden is completely covered in snow. Let's have a look out this way. We put out some hummingbird food, very warm hummingbird food this morning for the little guys. And they've been up here feeding and fighting, being mean to each other, as per usual. See, we got one right there. I don't know if you guys caught that. Stay here for a moment or two. They'll definitely come back. There are at least 24 around here most days. But anyway, yes, absolutely uncharacteristic levels of snow falling right now. And it just keeps coming and coming. So I'm sure I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know and that you're not already dealing with in some capacity where you live, because much of the country, sorry, let me fix this. Much of the country right now is, are experiencing exactly these conditions, not just us. So I'm going to do a quick scan up before we get into the topic of today's live stream. Fish Eye and Tank Ticks, hello, right back at you, my friend. Appreciate you coming by. All right, all right. A lot of people settling in. A lot of people saying that they too are quite chilly where they're at. It's a sign of the times, guys. This is early February or mid-February. This is in most places in the United States. February is just the worst. It's when we see we expect to see conditions like this time of year. It's not a surprise. Anyway. I don't think I have, okay, I have a question here from EJ Fishes 76. EJ Fishes 76 asks, any aquariums in the home? To speak of just one, really, there's a cube over there that's badly overgrown. It's got tons of stem plants in it and some guppies living quite happily, chasing each other around, raising heck, as guppies do. Mary Page Flynn says, we're supposed to be getting it really bad here too. We already have ice, but snow's on its way. Yeah, that's just... everyone's getting kind of baked right now with snow. It's pretty bad. So, guys, today's topic: the dirty, rotten, stinking bums that you just might have in your aquarium. Now, before we get started on the subject, I do want to say this is not an accusation of any one animal that I'm going to pick on a little bit here. All the animals we're going to discuss today, all the little critters, little aquatic guys that we all know and love, they're all helpful. Everything that we're going to discuss today, each and every single one of these animals does have its place in an aquarium. But the critters that we're going to discuss today, the creatures that we're going to delectably discuss, have a tendency to become total bums under the right or wrong conditions in your aquarium. So I chose 3 animals, basically 3 species to discuss it, and they're very common. But what I'd like to do is, as I discuss these creatures, please jump in chat, share your views on these critters, and also share some of your own suggestions for basically animals that are often sold to aquarists in fish stores under the pretense of, oh, this guy is good at cleaning this, or this guy is good at eating that, or this guy is good at doing this. And under the right conditions, they'll do that, but under the wrong conditions, they become total scumbag bums. All right, so without further ado, let me jump over and make sure my video's coming through okay. Yeah, I think we're good. A little dark today. Apologies for the lighting, but, we're snowed in. So without any further delay, I am going to jump right in to the first critter that I want to introduce for the potential dirty, rotten, stinking bum list. Okay, and it's a very, very common animal. Under the right conditions, they're fantastic. Under the wrong conditions, they don't do what you hope they're going to do for you. Here we go. Yes, indeed. Guys, jump right in here and comment what animal you think this just so happens to be. I'm not going to give it to you. I am back over in the YouTube window so I can kind of see it real time. There's a bit of a delay. I am showing a picture of an animal here that that definitely has a reputation, a well-earned reputation for eating tons and tons of algae under the right conditions. Okay. Now this is an Amano shrimp. You guys are already guessing it. Yep, so you guys already got it there. Amano, yep. So I'm not giving anything away. Good job, guys in chat. This is an Amano shrimp. Now, it's called now Caridina multidentata. That is its current accepted scientific or Latin name. It used to be called Caridina japonica. Okay, now because they're native to Japan as well as Taiwan. They're not only native to Japan, they're also native to Taiwan. So these are freshwater shrimp, and you'll find them in most fish stores. I sell them in my fish store, right? Now, under the right conditions, these shrimp will really chow down on algae. Okay, filamentous algae, they don't do a whole lot for like green dust algae. You just wipe that stuff off with a sponge and change your water and move on. No, like a filamentous algae, they'll definitely chow down on it. A lot of different kinds of most green algae, they'll snack on it. They'll definitely eat it. Now, why are they on this list? Well, because under the right, or if you prefer wrong conditions, they won't eat algae. They will always prefer to eat fish flakes. Okay, so a good aquarium to put these guys in, and this is really where most people use these shrimp. A great place to use these shrimp are in aquascapes or in planted tanks where you really don't have fish. Now, a lot of aquascapes and planted tanks, most of them do have fish, but not all of them do. A really great place to use these shrimp is in an aquarium with no fish or very few fish. Where you don't want to use these shrimp is in a heavily populated community tank that you feed pretty heavily, like full of guppies, full of mollies, you know, your typical community tank. You know, if you're one of these people that just throws fish food all over the top, calls it a day, I got news for you. Your Amano shrimp are dirty, rotten, stinking bums, because they're not going to be eating algae. They will be eating pretty much exclusively fish flakes. Now, I know that you guys have seen the same behavior in Amano shrimp. It's well noted that that they're aggressive. They are an aggressive shrimp. If you throw let's say a bunch of fish flakes in an aquarium, it sinks down. You'll see other, let's say you have other Neocaridina davidii in there, some little neos in there, and they'll run over and start eating the fish flakes. Well, Amano shrimp will come right up and steal food right out of the mouths of anything that they can catch, and they'll run away. So they're very, very aggressive shrimp. A lot of people have seen this behavior in Amano shrimp and noted that while yes, they are very good algae eaters, in the wrong aquarium, a heavily fed aquarium, they rarely will touch algae anymore. They'll just go for fish flakes, anything that's not eaten by other species in that tank. So that is why this very first species on the dirty, filthy bum list is the noble Amano shrimp. So I'm going to jump over and scroll up in chat and see if I missed anything. I'm sure I have. And remember, guys, jump in there and please make your own dirty, rotten bum suggestions, because there are more than just the three that I've come up with. So the first thing that stands out, it looks like I had an @ here in chat. I thought I did. Jackson Tax says, I have a glossary and she's wicked plant nibbler but eats some algae surprisingly, but boy, she loves to eat Val and lilies. Yep. She eats fish food but will still eat plants, moss, etc. too. A lot of species will do that. A lot will. We have a comment here from Dank Tanks. Nearite snails, they suck and the eggs are ugly. Well, don't hold back, Dank Tanks. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, you're onto something. I mean, in the right conditions, neorites will eat tons of algae. But a lot of people don't realize that snails tend to have very inconvenient sleep schedules. A lot of people have you know, basically toss snails out of their tank thinking, oh, this thing's dead. It's been in its shell for 5 days straight. No, there are a lot of snails that stay awake for 7 and 8 days straight eating, and then they'll sleep for 5, 6 days without waking up. So neorites have very useful, well, they're very useful in aquariums. They also have some drawbacks. Yes, that's very correct. They lay eggs all over the place, and the eggs are like forever. You can clean them out and use a razor and get them off of stuff, but that is very annoying. It's a very annoying habit that neorites have. Sand Creek Aquatics 2 with a comment here, and I know you said to put them in a tank with little or no fish, but what about with pea puffers? No, I wouldn't put Amano shrimp, even though they're fast and aggressive. Pea puffers are just very persistent. They're very, very persistent, and I suspect that even with Amano shrimp, it's just a matter of time before they get the drop on one of your Amano shrimp and take a leg off. And once that happens, it's kind of hobbled. And yeah, I suspect that pea puffers would eventually make short work of even Amano shrimp. Jackson Tax there with a correction, a glow shark. Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Dragon Layer here with a comment. Anyone want to send me a mono shrimp? I need something to eat the filamentous algae in my plant grow out tank. Well, if you don't have a bunch of fish in there and you're not feeding that tank heavily or whatever, a mono shrimp will do it. They'll absolutely do it. But in the wrong aquarium again, you know, if you're putting a lot of food in there, they're not going to eat algae anymore. They'll eat exclusively fish flakes. I've seen it for years and years. A lot of people have made note of that. Now, comment for you, Dragon Lair, if you're not keeping fish in there, or you just have very few fish, or maybe you do have a few more than a few fish in there, but you feed them very, very lightly, very discerningly, no problem. Put Amanos in there. Make sure that fish food is not hitting the bottom of the tank, please. Because once it does, and the Amanos get their greedy little paws on it and start eating it, they're going to back off of that filamentous algae big time. Wow, Keith Hanshaw here with a comment. I had a puffer kill a male bristlenose and learned my lesson on that combo. Yes. Puffers are nasty. They can be really nasty. In a very densely planted, like very dense planted tank, we're talking lots of needle leaf java fern everywhere, lots of stems in the back. I've kept pea puffers with other fish in a communal setup and had no problem. I've also tried to keep pea puffers in a communal setup that wasn't quite right, and I've had them just become axe murderers on other species. It happens. They're puffers, man. So I'm going to go on ahead and move on. Deborah Sanders here with a comment. My Amanos cleared my tank of algae. I'm not going to begrudge them fish food now. Well, that's good. Well, see, they've already done their job. See. So I am going to go on ahead and move on to suggestion number 2 for the Dirty Rotten Bombs list. Okay, here we go. Now, not only are these guys definite bums, again, in exactly the same conditions that we discussed with the mono shrimp, they're super aggressive too. And I know you guys have seen this behavior when you throw maybe 2, 3, 4 of them in a 20, 30 gallon aquarium. Everybody says, oh, they're great, they do this, they do that, they'll clean algae, they're fantastic. And then within 2, 3, 4 weeks, they're just being absolute jerks to each other. Here we go, guys. Yes, indeed. This is Crossochilus oblongus. There you go. That is the actual name. I probably butchered it. That's the actual name for this fish, the Siamese algae eater, as we affectionately call them in the trade, the SAE. The Siamese algae eater is easily one of the most sold algae eaters in the entire hobby. If you've never had one in one of your aquariums, then you're definitely a rarity. Now, anybody who's kept these little guys, well, maybe not anybody, but most people who've kept these little guys have say you have a 20 long, maybe a 30, maybe even a 40 breeder, and you get 3, 4 of these guys, and you throw them in there, and they're little babies, and yeah, they start eating algae, and they start doing their thing, and pretty soon, as you're feeding the other fish in the tank, little few flakes fall down. You start noticing that these fish, which are supposed to be algae eaters, go right over to the fish flakes and just munch it all up. Yum, 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 yum. Even though their mouth is kind of on the bottom, the obvious mouth, position of a bottom-feeding fish, doesn't matter one bit. They go right over to those fish flakes and just munch them up, leaving behind very little dust even. Well, welcome to the phenomenon of the Siamese algae eaters in your tanks discovering delicious fish flakes and turning their backs on algae for the most part. Not completely, but for the most part, they will at that point. So, much like the Amano shrimp, we have a fish here that's, we have an animal here that's highly adaptable. They are aggressive. If you've ever kept a group of 3 or 4 of them, you'll notice as they grow up, they start getting really nasty to each other. Now, with that said, these are not Chinese algae eaters. Chinese algae eaters should not be in the trade at all. They're horrible, they're invasive, they're evil. They're evil fish. They should not be kept alone. They should not be kept, period, I meant to say. These are Siamese algae eaters, Thai algae eaters if you prefer. Now, they're not necessarily from Thailand. They just picked up that name because they do come from Thailand, Malaysia, and other areas of Southeast Asia. Now, while these fish admittedly aren't anywhere near as aggressive as our Chinese algae eaters, again, which you should not keep, you should not purchase, these fish, if you've ever kept 3 or 4 of them together around food that they really like, aka fish flakes, right? They get really nasty and aggressive around each other. Now, they'll also really enjoy some algae wafers if you throw them in there. Now, hikari algae wafers, I've always had good luck getting my Siamese algae eaters, so-called Siamese algae eaters, to eat the hikari algae wafers with no problems. Now, autocinkless, they're not interested in hikari algae wafers. They just don't like it at all. Now, with that said, you'll notice that Siamese algae eaters around food that they're really keen on become huge, giant jerks to each other. They get really aggressive, and not only do they get aggressive they do get mainly aggressive towards each other, they'll soon start getting really aggressive towards other fish in your aquarium, typically larger fish, kind of, biting them or glancing their scraping mouth parts off of their flanks. It's not a good feeling for other fish in your tank. So that is why this fish makes the number 2 species on the dirty, rotten, stinking bum list. I'm going to jump back in the chat and see what I've missed here. Remember, guys, please jump in and mention your own species if you'd like to add to the list. And if you have a question for me, please @redfish bluefish. Really helps it to stand out to these old and failing eyes. Hey, welcome, Furloughs Aquatics. We got Dank Tanks. Got a lot of people in here. Chubbs Aquatics. What's up, my Louisiana brother? Yes, Chubbs Aquatics, calling it out right there. They do good. I would say okay, but they do good when they're small, but when they get bigger, they just eat everything. Yeah. I mean, they do. SAEs. Even when they're small, I've put them in my guppy tanks. I don't do it anymore, but when I was a lot younger, I used to keep fish. I was a chronic overfeeder, and even when they're small, like a little inch and a half long, they'll go right for the fish flakes that fall down from the guppies. And man, before long, they won't be interested in eating anything in terms of algae or diatom, anything like that. They're just, whatever. They just sit on their butts, their fishy little butts, and wait for more fish flakes to fall down. So, looks like we have a comment from Paul Soltero. And Paul Soltero, right now, you hit it right on the head. The best way to keep SAEs eating algae is to not overfeed the tank. Absolutely. Same thing with Amano shrimp. I said it myself, yes. These fish, these species, not all of them are fish. Heck, we started with shrimp. And then the second one is a fish. The third one is neither. We're going to get to that in a second. But you nailed it right there, Paul Soltero, with a very apt comment. The best way to keep these very helpful, very good species, I'm not trashing the species completely, I am calling them out for their bum-like behavior under the right/wrong conditions. Best way to keep these species is in a tank with no other fish, few fish that you don't overfeed, or in a community tank that you're very, very careful about not overfeeding. And we're talking about, you know, a few guppies, I don't know, a couple of small generic angelfish, something like that's fine. Yeah, going ahead and throw some Amanos in there, throw some SAEs in there, but just feed very, very lightly. Don't just poof, throw in a whole, you know, bunch of fish food and walk away. You just ruined those. You just ruined your maintenance crew. They don't have any incentive anymore to eat algae. They have something way tastier, way easier to get. They don't have to scrape it off of rocks. They don't have to nibble filamentous algae to get nutrition anymore. You just fed them, right? So, Paul Soltero, thank you for that comment, and you hit it spot on. The best way to keep the first two species is in an aquarium without a bunch of spare food laying around, because you're going to spoil them. In no time flat, they won't be interested in eating algae. It looks like we're already at the 10:30 mark. I'm not seeing a whole lot of other suggestions. Guys, come on, jump in there and make your own suggestions, please, of your nomination to the Dirty, Rotten, Stinking Bum list. All right, guys. So while you think about your own nominations, I'm going to jump over to my Streamlabs OBS control panel thing, and I'm going to actually, I'll be right back. All right, there we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, I see a comment there from Deborah Sanders. I researched SAEs and autos. Autos for the win. I agree. I agree in principle. Autos, I will always go for over Siamese algae eaters. Now, there's a problem with autos. I've been keeping them for a long, long time. A lot of people have been keeping autos, and once in a while, you get an auto that just, it's buddies. You get 3 or 4 autos, and 2 or 3 of them, you quarantine them, you treat them, you know, you hit them with everything that you can, you know, everyone's fine. They all came out of the same treatment. And you'll get one auto that just refuses to eat it, just lays there and wastes away and passes on, while the other 2 or 3 that you added to your tank are just active and healthy and, you know, cleaning up. So there is, I would say, a much higher, I don't want to say DOA, but shortly thereafter you get them, there's a higher rate of losing autos as opposed to SAEs, Siamese algae eaters, just for seemingly no really good reason. It's not sick because it was treated with everything that everyone else is treated. It cleared quarantine, it's fine. It's just very inactive, doesn't eat much, and it just kind of wastes away and dies. So that is a problem with autosinkless catfish. You will get a higher rate of that going on compared to Siamese algae eaters. Now, Siamese algae eaters will also do something that autos just won't do, and that's jump out of your tank. Now, I don't know if you've seen Siamese, well, I'm sure you guys have seen Siamese algae eaters get really active and kind of, you know, run around your tank. They're very fast fish. But when they start getting nasty to each other, usually there's one tough guy in the tank and he bullies the other ones. You better have that tank covered, or get those, even better yet, get the ones that are getting bullied, get them out of there, because those fish will absolutely jump out of your aquarium if they're stressed out. Another drawback to the Siamese algae eater. So, guys, we are going to move on to my third and final suggestion, the dirty, rotten, stinking bum list. Now, if you think that these are mystery snails, you could be forgiven, because they very, very much resemble a mystery snail. And back in the 80s, a lot of these guys were sold as mystery snails. These are not mystery snails. These are apple snails. Yes. And they are not good to have in any aquarium that even remotely resembles the one in that photograph behind me. Why? Well, because in that photograph, there are many plants, many actual plants. I'm not sure what they are. It could be newly planted pearlweed, something like that. You do not want to have apple snails anywhere near a living plant in an aquarium. Now, some people say, well, I've had mystery snails and they eat plants too. No, mystery snails eat dead and dying plant matter, and a mystery snail will only eat healthy living plant matter as a last resort. Mystery snails, their mouth, their chewing, their mouths, the mechanism in their mouth is not really suited to eating living plant material. They have a really hard time chewing it and digesting it. Now, they don't have any problem at all chewing up dead and dying, decaying plant matter. They can digest it with no problem. Now, mystery snails will snack big time on living plants if they absolutely have to. However, if you find your mystery snail eating your live plants, that is an extremely hungry snail. You need to feed it. You need to take care of your mystery snail. You do need to take care of mystery snails in a lot of tanks where there's not a lot of overfeeding going on, because mystery snails are fantastic at eating leftover food. Now, enough of mystery snails. These are apple snails. Apple snails will absolutely munch down on totally healthy plant material. They'll eat moss, they'll eat algae, they'll eat the tips of java fern leaves. They won't touch the rhizomes usually. I've seen them snack on them a little bit, but they usually leave them alone. Basically, the takeaway is apple snails will totally munch on any kind of plants that you have in your aquarium. So please don't mix them up with mystery snails. They are not mystery snails. There have been a lot of horror stories about my mystery snail has just lost its mind, and it just, like, in 2 days, it ate every single plant in my tank. They're totally gone. It's not a mystery snail, bud. That's an apple snail. Now, apple snails get huge, massive, huge compared to mystery snails. So if you if you have a mystery snail in your tank that's 4 inches across, that's not a mystery snail, man. That's an apple snail. So I'm going to go back into chat and see what's going on. Comment here from James Thomas. Aren't apple snails forbidden in some states? I hope so. I believe they are. I hope so. They are nasty invasive. If they get out into nature, certainly in more of the southern states, if they were to get out in a more temperate area of the United States, that would be really bad news. Yes, comment from Dragon Lair, kind of underscoring what I just literally said. It just popped up real time. They are total pests in South Alabama and Florida, apple snails. Yes, they are bad stuff. Looks like there's some kind of there's a real delay between what I'm seeing in chat on YouTube and what's popping up on my screen, so that's weird. I guess YouTube's a little frozen today. It's a little cold for YouTube, I guess. I'm gonna spend a little time scrolling up, see what I've missed. Hey, thank you so much, Danikin Aquatics. I really appreciate that. It looks like we have 59 watching now and 41 likes. Really appreciate that, guys. I actually planned to drop this into a fish tuber notifications, and I totally forgot, like I normally do. Danikin Aquatics here. Oh, fantastic suggestion. Common plecos are bums. Excellent suggestion, sir. They get massive. We now know that there are roving bands of common plecos all over the place in Florida. And that is very bad news because they breed like crazy. And they're bony fish. They're kind of armored fish. They got spikes on them. There's not a whole lot of predators. I mean, alligators, sure, alligators I'm sure would snack on a pleco. But apart from that, there are not a whole lot of other things that are going to go after a spiky swimming pine cone of a fish. So yeah, I can absolutely see that, Daniken Aquatics. Daniken Aquatics suggests that common plecos are bums. Good call there, buddy. Guys, if you have any more suggestions, please follow Daniken Aquatics suit. Jackson Tax here with a comment. I have autos and longfin green dragons. I also have neos and pond as well as ramhorn snails. Nice clean tank, by the way. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got autos, green dragons, neos, ram's horns, probably pond snails as well. Yeah, that's like a mega custodial crew that you got there, Jackson Tax. In an aquarium like that, you really do have to pay attention to, have they overcleaned? Is there no food? And that's something that I always worry about with like BNPs, bristlenose plecos. I have, I think, 10 or a dozen or so. Super beautiful, I mean creme de la creme, super red bristlenose plecos, and citrus if you prefer, at my shop right now that I got delivered by Mr. Bentley Pasco. And when I put him in that tank, I mean, the next day, that aquarium was spick and span. Not that it was bad, it just, there was some diatom, some algae here and there. They knocked it right out. So I have been fortifying those little guys' diet with some canned low-sodium French-cut green beans. And I just so happen to have recently added about a dozen or so assorted mystery snails to that tank full of the super red ancestris from Bentley. And what a fantastic combination, because the ancestris, the bristlenose, the BNPs, they love the low sodium green beans. The mystery snails absolutely love green beans. They just go crazy for them. I can put an entire can in a 20 long, an entire can, like one of the larger ones, not the teeny tiny ones, large one. And the next day, there will not be a shred of green bean left. Not even the spines. Even the spines of the green bean are eaten by the mystery snails, which is fantastic. So. Well, speak of the devil and he appears. Bentley Pasco here with a comment. Bentley is a total bum. Oh, well, we all love you, Bentley. It doesn't matter. We'll forgive you. No, actually, thanks for coming by, buddy. And you are not a bum. You brought by some really killer bristlenose plecos, my friend, and some fantastic blue Hawaiian Moscow guppies, which I wish I could show you guys right now, but it is coming down like way worse than before. You know what? I know this is about fish and the bums of your aquarium, but I want to show you guys how intensely it is starting to come down now out the main windows in our great room, as they're called here. You guys probably know them as living rooms. Up here they're called great rooms. So check this out, guys. Really, really coming down like crazy bad. The fish truck is going nowhere today. It weighs far too much. A little bit more than 3 tons, so that is not going to be going anywhere in this ice and snow. In fact, the snowdrift building up out there is pretty significant. Yeah, we might be here for a few days. Pretty nuts. This is not the level of snowfall that we're used to out here in the Pacific Northwest. Looks like the deer were here earlier. You can see some visible grass. They're probably sheltering there where they normally do overnight, trying to get out of this nastiness. Whew. I'm not going out there, y'all. No siree. Okay. I think it's supposed to subside sometime tomorrow. Yowza. Am I too washed out? It's not too bad. Okay, let's check this out. Okay, I'm back in chat. I've got a comment here from Paul Soltero. Paul says, to make sure that the cories, etc., get something to eat, I feed sinking pellets after the rest of the tank is fed. Result, fat and happy cories. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you just, my personal, right now anyways, Extreme Foods is very, very good. Extreme Aquatic Foods, let's call them by their proper name. They make very, very good stuff. But recently, my big go-to for Corydoras, and really any bottom feeders, not autos, right? Not autos, they're different. Other bottom feeders like loaches, panda loaches especially, are the Hikari sinking wafers that come in the orange colored, kind of foil bag that's Ziploc at the top. It's got a picture of a loach on the front and a couple other fish. No, the Hikari sinking wafers are just like utterly fantastic. Really, really fantastic, high quality food for any cory, really. Panda garas love them, loaches love them. They got silkworm larvae, all kinds of spirulina stuff added to them. Really, really very high quality food. I love Hikari sinking wafers. I'll go on and on about them. So yes, Paul Sotero there with a very apt comment. Yeah, absolutely. Just make sure that you feed them with sinking wafers. Or, I mean, if you have a tank full of just cories, feed them whatever you want. You get a handful of, well, not a handful, but a decent pinch of fish flakes and just dump them into the water, not on the water. Put them underneath the surface of the water so they sink down, and man, those cories will be happy. Cories typically tend to be pretty easy now. They do have some different dietary requirements that I won't go into in this live stream, but they tend to be pretty easy to take care of. As long as there's food for them, they're happy. Danikin Aquatics, nice, yeah, appreciate that. You're very welcome, my friend. Yeah, very, very cool guppies. Yeah, the blue Hawaiian Moscow strain that Bentley hooked us up with, really fantastic fish. Yeah, they're just super photogenic. It's super easy, super easy to photograph the guys because the color shifts on this strain of guppy. I've gotten some complaints about them, like, hey, they're not all blue, and there's a little bit of yellow on this one. And I have to tell a few people, there haven't been very many complaints, really comments more than complaints, I should say, where I have to explain to the people, hey, these guppies color shift, watch them. They'll be different tomorrow, the next day they'll be really dark, 2-3 days after that they'll be light blue with a lot of yellow in the caudal fin, at the base of the caudal fin, and it's very true. It's a very strange strain of guppy that does a lot of color shifting. So absolutely in love with the Bentley Pasco strain of the Blue Hawaiian Moscow. Got another comment, it looks like, from Jackson Tax. Jackson Tax says, I supplement my cleaning crew's food with zucchini, rapashi, and green beans, algae wafers. All of them love my food combo. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. as long as you're not putting too much in there for your custodial crew to take care of, you do have to make sure that the cleanup crew is getting enough food. Sometimes they can, shall we say, clean themselves out of a job, by which I mean starve themselves to death if there's not enough algae, and that's a big problem. If you see, what would be a good example? A great example is the horned nerite snail. Okay, that is a snail that is not going to eat cucumber. It's not going to eat zucchini. It won't eat any of that stuff. It eats algae, and it eats BBA, like blue beard algae, black beard algae. It's got several names. They love eating that stuff. But if you've got them in a tank and you put too many of them in there and you're not growing enough algae for them to sustain themselves on, they'll pass away eventually. They will starve. So that can be a problem with our custodial crew. Says Dragon Lair here with a comment. Nice update on the black cories. They're as big as my thumb now. Nice Dragon Lair. Yeah, I still have some of those because I brought so many in when I imported them, and all of the ones I have are like thumb size now. They're little porkers, man. They are really they're a big cory now. Oh, sweet. We got a little pop-up comment here from Atkins Nature Aquariums. What's going on, Mr. Ian? Ian says, love the Agassizi cories. They're doing great. Hope we can meet again soon. Awesome, my friend. I really appreciate that. Recently, Ian Atkins of Atkins Nature Aquariums came down with Kenny E from Danny Ken Aquatics and helped me move some stuff around the shop, help with some heavy lifting, and hooked him up with some fish to take back down south to Portland with him. So it was a great time. Really hope to have you guys come back up soon. Hey, we got Mary Paige Flynn in here. Welcome, Mary. I've missed you. Hopefully Saturday mornings as my live stream kind of day going on from here on out will work better for people. I certainly hope it will. It's working better for me. We got a comment here from Geek Boy. Geek Boy says, good, I think I'm a pro at algae growth. Nice one. You know, we have to sustain the our cleanup crew, man. We got to grow algae. Now if you've got one of these fancy smancy high-tech aquascapes, you don't want algae in them at all. So often aquascapes that are being maintained properly, and you should be maintaining your high-tech aquascape with a fine-tooth comb, shall we say, to keep in front of algae problems, keeping up with your 50% weekly at a minimum water changes, all that stuff. So often in aquascapes, high-tech aquascapes, a lot of the species that we discussed today, Siamese algae eater, they are not good choices for a lot of aquascapes because if we're going to let animals naturally clean algae in our aquascapes, they're going to get overgrown with algae in no time. You'd have to have many algae eating animals in there, and they're not going to be able to keep up with it because we're pumping so much light in these aquariums. We're injecting CO2, we're dosing the water column with really great high quality high-tech fertilization. At that point, you need to maintain the aquarium. So a lot of these species we've discussed today really aren't ever going to be terribly compatible in a high-tech aquascape, except for the Amano shrimp. Now, Amano shrimp, and Amano shrimp only, thrown into a high-tech aquascape with no other fish, no problem. Those Amanos will find stuff to eat. They'll eat biofilm, they'll eat algae. If they have to, they will eat diatom. They're not crazy about it. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there. It looks like we are coming up on the hour, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions or comments. I got another one here, though, from Atkins Nature Aquarium. Loved the store and had a great time. Thanks so much, man. I really had a great time, you guys coming down. Next time, you need to maybe think about staying overnight so we can get in more time hanging out and talking about fish keeping and chilling and a little bit partying and getting in just a little trouble, that much trouble. No more than that much. Well, guys, I think we're just about at it. Mary Page says this is great because it's only 1:50 p.m. That's fantastic. It's 10:53 p.m. Here right now, and after a good night's sleep, I got a fantastic night's sleep last night. I woke up to snow everywhere. It looks like a white Christmas, even though it's in February. I'm feeling a lot better about streaming during this time. Now, I had hoped to be streaming from the shop, so I could actually show you guys live some of these dirty, rotten, stinking, lazy bums. But we made do with what we have to work with. We got some nice images to kind of show them off. So guys, if you had fun here, I really hope you did. Thanks for coming by. My name is Jason. You've been watching Redfish Bluefish. From now on, we'll be broadcasting every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, that's 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on FishTube. I wish you all peace, love, and happy fish breeding. And please, please, please try to keep yourselves warm. It is cold out there. On the way out, please remember to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell, turn on those notifications, and we'll see you next weekend right here on FishTube. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.